Well, welcome everyone, and welcome to the beautiful Manatee Lagoon. Isn't this just a fabulous location for a luncheon? If you get some time, be sure to look around and go downstairs and view the exhibits. You won't regret it. Well, we truly appreciate you taking the time today to join us here at our Lead Lunch and Learn. I am Kelly Skiba, and I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women. And I know everyone is just getting their plates, but I'm going to ask you to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So while most programs you come to or luncheon events would remind you at this point to put your cell phones away, we're actually going to encourage you to take your cell phones out. You can take them out, take photos, and let your friends and followers know that you're here, and take pictures and share what you're learning. Our hashtag for this event is LEAD, L-E-A-D, 2022. And our social handle at the Florida Commission on the Status of Women is at FLACSW, Florida Commission Status Women. I know y'all got it, but we encourage you to take those pictures and share some of the things that you learned today with your friends and neighbors. So our goal today is twofold: to inform and to inspire. We hope to inform you about voting in the upcoming election and inspire you to do so. And we also know that we will inspire you with our award ceremony this afternoon, where we will honor volunteers, real heroines in their communities whose dedications to helping others makes their communities a great place to live, work, and make a family. We do value your time, and we do have a tight schedule, so it is now my pleasure to introduce the 2022 chair of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women, Ms. Sophia Eccleston.
Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. When I became chair in January, I said, I have to bring the commissioners to Palm Beach County. And they have to see Palm Beach County, and I brought them here yesterday for a meeting, and they just absolutely fell in love with the place. So, and just thank you all for taking time out of your schedule. So for those of you who don't know me, I think most of you in this room know me, but I'm Sophia Eccleston, and I work for FPL. I'm honored to work for FPL. I do external affairs for FPL, and I have been serving on the commission since 2018 when I was appointed by CFO Jimmy Petronas. The commission is made up of 22 women who volunteer their time to the commission. They're from all across the state. They're appointed by the cabinet, Speaker of the House, and Senate President. And really, the gist of it is our mission for the commission is to go around the state and find out what are the issues affecting women and girls in the state of Florida, and bringing it back to the legislators so that they can, create laws that can affect those changes, right? So we do have an important mission, and we have such an engaged commission who put a lot of time and effort into making sure that we do that. And I want to share with you, as a 2022 chair, I have two key goals. One of my goals is to ensure that we don't forget the 18 to 29-year-olds, because a lot of time we're so focused on adults who are working and what their issues are, but we don't focus on the ones that are in college. So that's one of my key goals, and we're actually hiring a research firm who's going to go around and really handle that for us. And the other one is to be more collaborative with our local commissions. I think it's important that we don't work in silos, and we figure out there's a lot of local county commissions around, and find out what are some of the things they're working on, and find ways that we can all collaborate. And so we have a lot of work ahead of us, with the commission. So I can't do this by myself, and so as I mentioned, we have 22 commissioners. We don't have all of them here, but we have a lot of them who are in this room. So I'd like for my fellow commissioners to stand and be recognized, and I think we should have something on the screen that shows you all their photos and names. Thank you. They make my life a lot easier, and I'm sure I probably made theirs a little bit harder. I see that we have one of the local commission chairs in the room, Michelle McGovern. Do you mind standing and being recognized? Michelle chairs the Palm Beach County Commission on Women. Is there any commissioners or commission chairs from any local commission that's in the room? I want to make sure that I recognize you. Broward County Chair, welcome. Thank you. Do we have any dignitaries in the room? Any elected officials? I know we have Supervisor of Election Wendy Sartori-Link, who is going to be speaking shortly, and so you'll get a full introduction from her. Anyone else? Okay. At this time, I am going to ask our sponsors to come up and give a few words. I have the pleasure of introducing Pam Roush, who is my leader, friend, and mentor at FPL. And I know this is a meeting about women, and I can tell you that Pam has done so much for women in our organization at FPL. And I've had the pleasure of, she snatched me away a couple years ago, and I've had the pleasure of working with her. And so, Pam, welcome.
Thank you, Sophia. And on behalf of all of my 15,000 colleagues at Florida Power and Light Company, I just want to welcome each of you to the FPL Manatee Lagoon. And I can't tell you how it warms my heart to see all of us back in this beautiful space. To give you a little history, you know, our Riviera Beach power plant is right next door. And about 8 or 10 years ago, we decided to convert it from oil burning to natural gas, much more efficient, much cleaner, better for our customers. And you know, even before then, we needed water to cool. And the water, and it was very clean, would roll into this little canal here, and it was warm. And so it would draw the manatees, particularly on cold days, to come here. There's been days when there's been 500 manatees here. And after 9/11, people would just pull up in their cars. This was a vacant property. They would, everyone who lived here, I know Wendy grew up here, Gail grew up here, just, you know, you pull up and you could go see all the manatees. Well, after 9/11, there was extra security required, and we had to shut it down. So when we modernized the plant in 2014, we decided to build this community center. And it's just one of the ways that we wanted to partner with our local community as a way to allow people to come in here that's free of charge and come and see the manatees any time of year, but also to provide an eco-discovery center down below. We have summer camps for kids. During COVID, we made them all virtual, and to provide this room that we use for business and events just like yours, where, you know, the Commission on the Status of Women is a true partner in the community and doing great things around the state for women and for our community. And that's exactly what we wanted this room to be used for, to convene for things just like this. So I'm so proud of my colleague and friend Sophia for having the honor to chair this organization this year. But there's something that you don't know about her that I have to share, and that is today is her birthday. So. So happy birthday, Sophia. So thank you all for being here, and I'm looking forward to enjoying this program.
Thanks, Pam. Our next sponsor is Kaiser University, so I have the pleasure. I have the pleasure of introducing my fellow commissioner. She was recently appointed by CFO Petronas to the commission, and yesterday she had her new member orientation. Welcome, Commissioner Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I consider it such an honor to have an opportunity to serve with each and every commissioner, but even more so with each and every one of you, because when you talk about what women do, and I was thinking about a good quote, I just made one up, with compassion and wisdom and kindness, we get it done, right? Isn't that true? So I think the first thing we should do with Pam is, if Pam, you join me, let's sing happy birthday to Sophia.
Oh, I'm going to lead. Are you guys ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sophia. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Pam. It's really an honor to be a sponsor, one of the sponsors of today's event. What I would really like to share with you is that a couple of my friends and others have approached me and said, how did you get involved? Well, let me just say this. At every community, there's a way to get involved. And when I look around the room, so many of you are involved every single day making the lives of women and families better, right? And that's ultimately the mission of the Commission on the Status of Women. When I was asked, I was thrilled and a bit surprised. I want you to know that Kaiser University is almost 75% women. And so as we look at the needs, opportunities, challenges, and ways to help others, we'll continue to be a resource in the state of Florida. I will say this, I travel the state, and let me just say thank you again, Pam, and thank you, FP&L. There are a few venues as beautiful as this one, so thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Kaiser. Well, I don't think I'm going to be the only one who gets embarrassed today. Today is also Ashley Walters' anniversary, so let's wish her a happy anniversary. So one of the pleasures I have and honors I have as being a chair is to select my committee chairs. And so for the Public Policy Committee, who has been working really hard with staff to put this amazing event on for the past couple of months, I selected Commissioner Rita Barreto as our Public Policy Chair. So it's my honor to introduce Commissioner Barreto.
Good thing Pam's staying, because I certainly didn't want to do it. So voting is a privilege that should be taken seriously, and nothing is more fundamental to a well-functioning democracy than the right to vote. And just holding an election is not enough. That election needs to be fair, it needs to be open, and it has to be open to individuals regardless of their difference. That is critical to our democracy, and that is the backbone of what we're going to be talking about today. With so much conflicting information and changes, I think sometimes it's a daunting task to figure out the voting process, and we oftentimes don't know what's fact and what's not, what's fiction. And so that's why today we brought together a panel of truly outstanding individuals who have proven themselves to be experts and highly regarded in the field and in the positions that they've been put into doing. They're going to be talking to you about the election process and the importance of voting in 2022, as well and beyond that. And you know, I think the greatest learning doesn't happen today. Clearly it's going to be highly impactful. But the greatest learning happens when you leave here and you process what you heard, and you share that with family members, friends, colleagues, and you take that information and you choose to become a student of the voting process. You choose to continue to get involved. You choose to become an informed voter well above the process, or well in the beginning of the process, not a fire drill towards the end. And so ultimately, though, the goal of today is to encourage you to vote and to encourage others to vote, because that's the voice that we all have. To begin this program, we have a very special message from a true friend, former Secretary of State Laurel Lee, who could not be with us today, but she shares with us a compelling message.
Hello, I'm Florida Secretary of State and Chief Elections Officer Laurel Lee. I'm honored to address this incredible group of people during this Voting 101 panel discussion. I'm sure you will receive some great information that you can take with you throughout this year's election cycle. During the 2020 election year, we commemorated and celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. The suffrage movement fought to give women the right to vote for more than 70 years before the 19th Amendment was passed. It was a long, difficult battle, but as women often do, they persevered. Now, over 100 years after the 19th Amendment was ratified, women continue to help shape the trajectory of our nation and our world through their leadership. The women of the past help build the foundation for the strong women leaders and elected officials of today. And an election year is the perfect opportunity to honor their legacies by participating in the democratic process. In Florida, it's easier than ever to vote. Floridians have 3 options to cast their ballot safely and securely. You can vote by mail, vote early, or vote at the polls on Election Day. In Florida, we have many safeguards in place to ensure the integrity of voting, whichever method you choose. We test and certify all voting equipment before it can be used during an election. We use hand-marked paper ballots, and we audit every election. Whichever option you choose, you can be certain that we're working hard with our federal, state, and local partners to ensure that your vote is safe and secure. If you have questions about voting procedures, when and where to vote, or what we're doing to keep your vote safe, the Florida Department of State and your local supervisors of elections offices are the most trusted source for election information. There's a lot of information about voting and elections on the internet and social media, but not all of it is accurate or applicable to our state. Your state and local elections officials are committed to ensuring that you have access to accurate, complete, and timely election information, and they should be the first place you go when you want to get accurate information. Finally, if you want to learn more about the elections process, get involved. If you aren't registered to vote, visit registertovoteflorida.gov to register to vote or to update your voter registration. Voting machines are tested before every election, and machine results are audited after every election. Those tests and audits are open to the public and a great opportunity to learn more about our voting systems. If you'd like to play an even larger role, contact your local supervisor of elections and let them know your interest in becoming a poll worker, or consider running for office yourself. When engaged civic and community leaders just like you run for office, it strengthens our democracy and our government. Every vote matters, and your vote helps to shape our future. Be informed, get involved, and go vote. Thank you.
So on behalf of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women, I'd like to publicly thank former Secretary Lee for her long-standing commitment. She's been a true friend, and we appreciate all of the support over the years. You know, in Palm Beach County, we like to say we have the best of everything here. As Commissioner Ecclestone said, look at this view. We have just about everything, and we hope that you enjoy it while you are here. And one of the true treasures in our beautiful county is Ashley Walters. She's an award-winning TV anchor with WPTV Channel 5, which is the local NBC affiliate. She has covered hundreds of stories, very trying stories such as the hurricanes and Aurora shooting, as well as the Scripps National Bee. She is known for a no-nonsense approach, and she's also covered a lot of quirky little stories about our little county as well. I'd like to publicly say, too, that recently I was at a program, and she was part of that as an MC, and truly part of the success of that event. You're a treasure to our county. We are honored to have you here. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ashley Walters.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm wearing a microphone, but is it working is the question. Since, you know, you wouldn't guess that I wear one of these literally every day. Okay, is that working now? No? Much better. It is? Good? No? I can always Stand by. Technical difficulties here. Thank you. I just appreciate it. You wouldn't know the balance. Okay. See? I'm a pro. Yeah, here we go. It's so great to be here. I think this is such an incredibly important thing that you're all doing. Offering information, accurate information that people can use to make their own informed decisions. I grew up in a house where my parents had the news on all the time, 3 or 4 newspapers on the table, you know, with breakfast every day. And on top of that, they included me in the voting process. They showed me the ballot, they showed me the information in the newspaper. You know, we text and go vote. So that's normal in my house. And of course, it's not in everybody's household. You know, when I lived in South Carolina, which was 11 years ago, I was, of course, covering the elections, and I was in line to vote, very long line. And the group in front of me was saying, you know, we're in our 60s, our first time ever voting. You know, they're very excited. And they asked me what all the papers were that I was holding, and I said, well, this is all the other stuff. So it's really important that we explain that to people and make sure that they're informed and that they can be part of the process as well. So we have a great group of speakers who are going to share helpful information with all of you today, and I'd like to introduce them and have them come on up to join me. So we're going to start with Representative Jenna Persons Mollica. Hi there. Got the name right. So Representative Persons Mollica was appointed to the commission in 2017. By Senate President Joe Negron. And as a partner in the law firm of Strayhorn Persons, she takes tremendous pride in her work and being a part of projects that will beneficially impact our communities for decades to come. She says she built her practice around a dedication to the community, respect for the important role of local and state governments, and graduated actually from the George Washington University Law School, and returned home to Fort Myers to start her legal career. Actually, a 6th generation Lee County resident. How cool is that? Offering a client that type of perspective rooted in the knowledge of the area, really. Now, Ms. Persons has served on the Lee County Bar Association Executive Committee and co-chairs the association's History Committee as well. She's been recognized as a Florida Superloaders Rising Star, featured in Gulf Shore Life magazine as one of Southwest Florida's young professional impact players, and was honored in 2017 in both Gulf Shore Business Magazine's 40 Under 40 and Business Observer's 40 Under 40. So congratulations for that. Also founding charter member, director, past treasurer of Tiger Bay Club of Southwest Florida, member of a bunch of great organizations, the Fort Myers Women's Community Club, heavily involved there, Real Estate Investment Society, Greater Fort Myers Chamber of Commerce, and an active supporter of civil rights organizations. So we're so glad to have you here to join us. Thank you.
You all hear me better on this? Sorry. Oh my, I hope you, the good news here too, you have a little thing on your table, so if you miss something I say about these introductions, you can refer to that right in front of you. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so next we have Wendy Sartori Link, our Supervisor of Elections for Palm Beach County. Hi, welcome. She was appointed by Governor DeSantis on January 18th of 2019, and on August 18th of 2020 was elected by the voters in Palm Beach County. Before her appointment, Ms. Link was a business attorney in private practice focusing on commercial real estate, general business transactions, and business consulting with an emphasis on strategic initiatives and crisis management and leadership development. Ms. Link has served as a mentor for young professionals who have become leaders in their community, and she's always been active in her community and currently involved in more than 10 community organizations. She previously served in a leadership role in more than 17 organizations on both the county and state level, and she has more than 30 years of legal experience. Very good. And next, we welcome Joe Scott, our Supervisor of Elections for Broward County. He earned a BS at the U.S. Military Academy. The U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and an MBA at Villanova University. He started his career as an Army officer, an experience that culminated in his assignment as an embedded advisor with the Iraqi Army. And he was awarded Bronze Star for meritorious service developing Iraqi Army organizational capacity. Yeah. Thank you. His prior business experience includes 6 years in operations management roles with 3 S&P 500 companies. And Mr. Scott also spent 2 years as an entrepreneur helping small businesses access capital, contracts, and mentorship opportunities. Now, prior to his election, he spent 4 years at a global 500 technology company where he'd partnered up with government agencies and other mid-sized organizations as they integrated new systems to improve efficiency, sustainability, and cybersecurity. And he and his wife Shannon have a teenage son, and they're residents of Parkland, Florida. So welcome to the 3 of you. So let's just get started with Representative Jenna Parsons-Mullica. I know you want to give us a focus here on why it is so important to vote and how women can impact the process.
Well, thank you, Ashley, and thank you, fellow members of the panel, for joining us. And everybody in this room, thank you for being here, and those watching as well. My name's Jenna Parsons-Mullica. I'm proud to be a commissioner on the Florida Commission of the Status of Women, and I'm also proud to be a member of our Fort Myers community back in Lee County. And 2 years ago, when our State House seat opened up, it was the honor of my life to step forward, throw my hat in the ring, and run for office with the support of so many great people. And it's been such an honor to serve in that role. My entire life, just as Ashley has been, I grew up in a family that was involved in the political process, that listened to the news every night, went to vote with my parents, and so I've been actively engaged in my community for many, many years. I've been involved in other campaigns, I've helped folks run, I've stayed engaged, and tried to find my purpose, the why, and the how. Why, what do I want to do? Well, I want to help others, but how can I help others in my community? And that'll look different for each and every one of us. My path led me to stay involved, to give back in the community, and then ultimately led to where I am today in public service. My best friend's here, and we're honoring her this afternoon. Her path led her in a different way. Her path led her to head up the organization back home that ensures that we feed the hungry and we give home to the homeless. That's a purpose and a path. So each of you have your own unique path to make an impact, to find that purpose, and to give back. But one thing we all share in common that we can do that makes an impact is vote. The election process is fundamental to our democracy, as Commissioner Barreto said. And I'll just let you know, in the Florida legislature, and I know the supervisors have the job of implementing the laws that we pass, but for the past 2 years, we have continued to ensure that Florida leads the nation in election reform, and that the integrity of all ballots are protected so that you can be assured that your vote will count. But again, for it to count, you have to vote. And I look around, and I know I'm looking in the face of a lot of voters. But it's not just your vote that counts. It's the vote of your neighbors, your friends, your family members, your coworkers, those in your community. And I've seen election time and time again, I know the supervisors have, where it can come down to one vote or a handful of votes. But exercising your vote not only exercises your voice, but remember, that's your chance to hold elected officials like myself accountable at the ballot box. And that accountability is important, and that accountability, which makes up part of the process, ensures that we keep engaged to listen to you. I have my own experiences that I take with me to Tallahassee, but I also take with me the experiences of others in my community who have shared those with me. Because it might be a wrinkle in your story that leads to something that needs to be changed that will impact the entire state of Florida, and that's amazing. So at the ballot box, you vote, you hold elected officials accountable, you express your voice. And not just at the national level. You know, it's exciting. We talk about national politics all the time, and not just at the state level. But don't forget the local races. Some of those races are the most important that you will be voting on. So I encourage you not only to vote, but to learn about who's running those local races, what do they stand for, what change can they make happen, and share that with your neighbors and friends. Encourage them to get out and vote. I like to say, you know, in my campaign, I had a lot of yard signs, a lot of fancy advertisements in the mail. I was on TV. But mailers, yard signs, commercials, they don't win elections. You all win elections. It's the community and spreading that voice, talking to your neighbors, saying, hey neighbor, in this race, this is the person to vote for, and this is why, because this is who they are and what they want to do. That's where trust builds up, and that's where real change happens. And in terms of women, we have some amazing women leaders and women elected officials in our state. And when it comes to voters, more than half of the voters that turn out are women in our state. And that's phenomenal for not only that you're expressing your voice, but when politicians are thinking about issues, they're going to want to know what women think on those issues because the women are the majority of voters in the state. Women Democrat, women Republicans, women Independents. So when you encourage turnout and encourage turnout of fellow women in this state, that gives women as a whole a greater voice as well. Now, we have opportunities to do even more great work. In my first 2 years, I was able to pass policy and bring home funds that will transform my community. And that's encouraged me to run for re-election again, but I don't do that on my own. It is a team. So women need to support women running for office. It's not easy, and stand behind them and work together. So I encourage you all, and if anybody ever wants to know what it's like to go through the process or run for office, my door is always open.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to welcome Wendy Sartori-Link, our Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections, and talk to us a little bit about voting here in Florida, Palm Beach County, redistricting, new voter ID cards. You have a lot to cover.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me again. Can't emphasize what you said enough in terms of every vote counts. And I know we're going to talk about this, and I know Joe's going to talk about it in more depth. But in Palm Beach County, I just started in January 2019. Every election since then, we've had runoffs and recounts. I've had 3 one-vote races. I've had a direct tie. We've had a 5-vote race. So when people think, I'm not sure if my vote counts, I'm not sure if I'm going to stop on the way home from work, I'm kind of late for dinner, what have you, the people who lost by 1 vote think that your vote would have mattered. Okay, so and in Palm Beach County, and these are local elections, but also we had a countywide recount on a judicial election. So these are things, we've had runoffs and recounts in every single election in Palm Beach County. So those of you who are local, make sure you're voting. And it's the same case across Florida, because I know a lot of people are here from other counties. It is incredibly important. One of the things I was asked to talk about is the Voters' Bill of Rights. And what are your rights and what are your responsibilities? And one of the big things, as was mentioned earlier, our laws change all the time. And each time the legislature meets and they change the laws, it's our job to implement them. And so we'll look and take what they've done and make sure that we're doing that. And part of that is also trying to get that information out to you, the voters, because it does change so often. But one of the things, the biggest thing is you have the right to have your vote accurately counted, right? That's the first and foremost what you count on and what you want to have happen when you're going to vote. Another one of your rights is that if you're in line at the end of the day, 7 o'clock, if you're in line at the polling location and the line's really long, it's actually written in your voter's Bill of Rights that you get to still vote. So just 7 o'clock doesn't end, it means you have to be in line at 7. So the polls are going to stay open until you get through if you're in line at 7 o'clock. You can ask for and receive assistance in voting if you need it. Okay, so we hear from a lot of our elderly voters or people who are maybe first-time voters or people who are now citizens of the U.S. but have come from a different country who are not sure of it. I'm nervous. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't want to look silly in the voting location. They can ask for and receive assistance, and there's ways to do that. So people should never feel like that's a problem. Voting isn't like a complete test where when you turn it in, you don't get to change it, right? Until you've turned that vote in, if you've made a mistake on your ballot, change it. You get up to 3 ballots, okay, with each election. So if you're doing it, don't just scratch it out and then do another one because, gosh, that means somebody later is trying to discern for you what your intent was. I promise you, Joe and I will tell you both, and every other supervisor of elections, we do not want to be trying to guess at what your intention was on your vote. We want your vote to count the way you wanted it to count, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. So you don't want us to be guessing at what was your intent. So if you've made a mistake on your ballot, ask for a new one. You can get up to 3. So just remember that because we don't want you scratching out, putting arrows. If you are, go ahead and be crazy. If it's your third ballot and you're not going to get another one, then put arrows. I want this one, not this one. Write a note. Anything that's going to make sure that the canvassing board knows what was your intent. If somebody questions your identity at the polling location, you have a right to ask why. Why are they doing that? People in Florida do have the right to challenge a voter's eligibility. Any voter, any person in Florida can challenge somebody's eligibility to vote. But if they do that, they've got to fill out a form, it can't be frivolous, and you have the right to answer that. And you have the right to know who did that and what was their reason for doing that. When you get to vote, should be written instructions that are available, as well as the assistance. You have the right to vote free from coercion or intimidation by elections officers or any other person. And some of the ways that the legislature has looked to do that is by creating these zones. So it was 100 feet, now it's 150 feet from the door of the polling location, so that when you're walking up to vote, you're not being harassed the entire time you're going up. Once you get within that 150 feet, you can breathe. So you've got, there are things, you have the right to vote free of coercion. And we do here. One of the things that the legislature did was allow people to take pictures of their ballots. I will tell you, whenever I go out, especially if I'm speaking to some of our communities, Haitian communities and others who tell me, we've had people come in and tell us, that's the worst thing that happened for us because we are being harassed. People they tell us we have to bring out our picture of our ballot. And we want to see how we voted. And if we don't vote the right way, then we're afraid for our safety. I say, tell me about it, let's get a sheriff out there, and they don't want to do that. But so what I always tell people is, remember, you get 3 ballots. If that's happening to you and you don't want to report it, take a picture, whatever you think you need to do, spoil that ballot, go get a new one, and then vote the way you want to vote. Okay? I want everybody to vote the way you intended to vote, and it should be what you want to do, free of coercion. And that you're also permitted to vote on a system that is in working condition and that's going to allow your votes to be accurately cast. There are a lot of things that we do for that. Election security, of course, is the biggest thing that we deal with these days. not only security internally, physical security, obviously technological security, and there's a lot of things that we're doing across the state. The legislature has put in a lot of rules and laws that do that. The Florida Governor's Office, through the Secretary of State and Division of Elections, they certify the equipment that we're permitted to use. And so everything that we're using has not only been tested publicly, as former Secretary Lee talked about, but we do these logic and accuracy tests that are available to the public so that you can come in and make sure that that machine's in working order. You have the right to see that, and you should. I would encourage all of you, if you've never done it before, I've never done it before as a supervisor. It is pretty interesting to see how we know that these things are working accurately. So, and then on the flip side, you've got some responsibilities. Make sure when you go in there that Ashley was talking about, our parents would share what was in the newspaper and what was there. Know who you're voting for. Know what the issues are when you're going. Make sure that you know the right polling location. On election day, you've got to vote in your own precinct. Early voting, you can vote in any of the early voting places. Obviously, if you're doing vote by mail, do it at your kitchen counter. We can generally tell what people had for breakfast. I'm telling you, not kidding. So that's one of the things that will cause your ballot not to maybe go through the go through the tabulator as well. That then leads to us having to duplicate your ballot, right? Because if it can't be read, we need to duplicate it. Again, nobody wants us doing that. We don't want to do it. You want us to cast your ballot, not one that I had human beings duplicating. Now, there are a lot of safeguards in place to make sure that they're being properly duplicated. It's done in the public and a lot of things like that. But again, as you're doing this, please make sure that you're doing everything you can. Where everybody in Florida is now using ovals. Palm Beach County was the last holdout. We changed. Everybody's used to using their ovals. Fill them in properly. You did it when you were taking standardized tests. Not that hard. You'd be surprised how many people don't do it. Don't circle the name. Don't put a check mark. Don't have it go through 2 ovals. The machine's going to think you voted twice, right? It's going to kick it out. So really make sure you're properly filling in that oval and that you take the time, because that's how we know your vote is going to be cast and voted the way you intended for it to vote. So those are just a couple of things, and if you wanted me to cover anything else, or I can catch up at the end if you do.
Yeah, that's great. Because, I drink black coffee and wow. We should see a collection of those. That's funny. All right, so let's now Broward Supervisor of Elections, Joe Scott, like to have you talking about how every vote really can make a difference. Talk to us.
Oh yeah, so I believe she's probably alluding to an election we had last year. We actually had one of our congressional primaries came down to 5 votes, believe it or not. So that was actually partially in Broward as well as here in Palm Beach. It was an amazing situation to see that come right down to the wire and to see everybody arguing over those last few overseas ballots coming in at the last minute. So I actually just joined the elections business when I was elected in November of 2020, which was a pretty amazing time to become an elections official, because I think before November of 2020 it was a pretty kind of a bland administrative job. So when you think about it, when I decided to run, that was more or less what I was signing up for. And then the aftermath of the 2020 election administration got real, right? So, but I'll tell you what really motivated me ahead of time before when I decided to run for this office was the opportunity to really innovate and to make the elections office just modernize it in terms of how we communicate with people and how we interact with our voters on election day, and making sure that we're making the necessary adjustments as society changes. As far as communications, a lot of times, a lot of the focus in the past was on putting an ad in the newspaper, which just isn't really a great way to reach a majority of the people anymore. So finding new ways to use all of the different platforms that especially the younger generation is using, and making sure that we're getting the information to them about when the next election is, what they need to do to make sure that they're ready to vote when it comes time. We've taken some huge steps in that direction of making sure that we are present on a lot of different platforms and also advertising and spending our outreach dollars to basically reach people wherever their eyeballs happen to be now, and keeping track of where that is and making sure that we're staying on top of that. The other thing that's been, a big challenge for us in terms of continuing to administer elections is, especially with the COVID situation, and having a lot more people switching to vote by mail. So it made a big change in terms of how we get the ballots back. One thing that's important for people to remember in the state of Florida is that we don't have a postmark deadline for our ballots. So it's not, some people will mail their ballot back, say, on Election Day, and they believe that since they're mailing it on Election Day and it's postmarked Election Day, that it'll count. But the rule here in Florida is that it actually has to reach the supervisor of elections by 7 p.m. on Election Day in order to count. And that's why it is really, really important for us to give people alternative ways to turn in their ballots, because it's just human nature. We wait until the last minute to do things, right? So a lot of people will sit there with that mail ballot sitting on their counter until it's Election Day, and then they need to figure out, okay, what do I do with this? Another thing a lot of people will do is they'll take that ballot and they'll go to their polling place on Election Day. Seems logical, right? Maybe I can just drop this off at my polling place on Election Day. Not in Florida, you cannot do that. So you cannot actually bring the ballot to a neighborhood polling place. You have to take it to one of the supervisor of elections offices. So with that in mind, one of the things that I've done since I took office was expanding the footprint of offices that we have in Broward County. So we had 2 offices when I started, and now I've opened up, by mostly partnering with libraries, we've managed to open up 6 additional offices that really expands the footprint. Thank you. And expands the number of locations that people can come to and drop off their ballots on elections. Because it just feels like that, that seems like that was a big piece. And I'll tell you, in the aftermath of that election that came down to 5 votes, that ended up being one of the biggest sticking points as far as the candidate who was down 5 votes and seeing that there were a couple hundred ballots that came late in the mail. That particular team had a really hard time with that and went to filing lawsuits and all kinds of things to try to get those ballots open. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. If it came to us after 7 p.m., we just couldn't count it. So those ballots are still sealed up, sitting in a cage, and how that would have potentially changed that 5-vote election, we will never know. We will never know. So just in terms of, what's important for people to know and what's important for people to realize when it's time to vote is that the options have never been broader than they are now. And I think that as elections officials and everybody who's involved in making policy for elections, everybody should be focused on. We all care about election integrity. That is obviously mission number 1. But we have to find a way to ensure that we can make sure that elections have that high level of security that we all demand, while at the same time, we can't allow anybody to get disenfranchised by having rules that are too strict or too difficult for everybody to participate, especially when you consider people who might work 2 jobs and have different shifts, and they need expanded opportunities to vote to make sure that they're able to cast their ballot. Because it's really important for us to be a healthy democracy that everybody who wants to participate can participate. So while we want to do that in a secure way, we also want to make sure that that security doesn't hamper participation.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So let's get back to Representative Persons Mullica. Talk to us a little bit. What is it like being an elected official? How do you keep in touch with what everybody in your, in your community is really asking about? What's important to them? How does that work on your end?
Thank you, Ashley, for that question. I go back, it is definitely teamwork because it is not easy. I'll start with my elected office. I have, as a State House member in Fort Myers, I have 2 full-time staff members. And 1 member handles the local constituent services and monitors my email. I must get thousands and thousands of emails a day and phone calls. But that's a really cool aspect of the job, because people come to our office and say, hey, I'm having this issue with this state agency. You know, we had a lot of questions regarding unemployment, for example. And then our office can find the answers and put the members of our community in touch with the right people. And then I have a staff member that helps with on the legislative side. But more so than that, I will say the biggest challenge of serving, and I love serving, it is truly my calling, is balancing your family, your work, your service, your life. And I know as women, we all face those same challenges and in all aspects of our life, regardless of our profession or our call to service. So that has definitely been the biggest challenge. I'm still a newlywed. I was married 2 years ago and became a new mama. So my stepson Charlie just turned 18. And I will say that as a new mama, that now impacts how I serve and lead in the community. You know, I serve to honor God foremost and for all. But then I serve to help families and other children like Charlie. So being a mom makes me a better leader. And I would say as we balance life, you know, that's the most important part of our lives, our family, and being involved in our community family, because that makes us better leaders. So balancing it all is difficult. Thank God I have the most supportive, wonderful husband. I have supportive law partners, and they allow me to go do the good work because they see how important it is.
That is a lot of email. Wow, yes. I'm sure you all get a lot of email. That's a lot of communication to keep on top of. Okay, Wendy Sartori-Link, talk to us a little bit about the mail-in ballot process. How do we get one? How do we track it? How do we make sure it's counted? All of those fun details.
Sure. So in Florida, one of the 3 ways that you are permitted to vote is vote by mail. But in Florida, we don't just mail out vote by mail ballots. In Florida, you must request that ballot. And in order to request that ballot under new laws, you also have to provide for us either your Florida driver's license number, your Florida ID number, or the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. And whichever one of those you provide to us has to match what you gave us when you registered to vote. Now, not everybody remembers which one they gave us when they registered to vote. So, you know, for in our office, and my guess is probably the same in Joe's, if you are requesting it on, online through our website, we have designed it so if you did give us your driver's license when you're requesting your vote by mail ballot, it's going to ask you for your driver's license because we know which one you gave us. If you gave us your Social Security number, we're going to ask you for that. Same thing if you call our office, you're going to be prompted to give us the one that we can confirm. If you're sending in a written request, though, and you don't know which one you gave us, by law, you're only required to give us one of those, but remember, it has to be the one that matches. So if you don't give it to us the right way, it's technically an incomplete request, and nothing happens to it. Now, our office, and I'm sure many others, are going to go that extra step. We're going to let you know it was incomplete because you didn't give us the right one. But you might also consider, again, not required of you, but you might consider giving both, because then there's a really better chance that we're going to get it. Because the other thing is you have to make that request for us to mail you a vote by mail ballot by 5 o'clock on the 10th day before the election. So we can't mail you a ballot, a vote by mail ballot, after that 10 days before. And part of that is because we want to obviously have time for you to get it in the mail, vote it, and get it back to us. Whether you're choosing to drop that off in one of the boxes, used to be called a drop box, now called a secure ballot intake station. More syllables. Looks the same, works the same, nothing changed, but it has a new name. So secure ballot intake station is where you can drop that off, if not in a mailbox. So make sure that you're doing that again. As Joe said, it's got to get to us by 7 o'clock on election night. Don't drop it on, and we get people, but I put it in the mail that day. You know, I put it in the mail the day before. Gone are the days that you can count on that. Okay, and you know, I think the post office does the best they can. It's marked as election mail. They're supposed to pull it out. The envelopes, you know, all have ways to identify what they are. We will both of us go to the post office several times on election day, right up until 7 o'clock, so we can make sure that we're getting the most of those ballots that we can get. But there are still going to be those that arrive the next day. So please make sure that you're doing that. Also, you're always able to track your ballot. You know, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to just throw it in the mail because how do I know you got it? Well, you can go on the website, and we also have something that if you've signed up for it, we will actually reach out to you and let you know about it. So if you've signed up for that service, and Joe has the same thing, right, Valtra? Right, so if you've signed up for this service, we'll actually contact you and let you know when we mailed it out to you, when we received it. But either way, you can always go on our website and track it. The website will tell you what day you requested it, what day we mailed it out to you, what day we received it back, whether there's a problem with your signature. Most often, it's people forgot to sign them. There's a voter certificate on the outside of that envelope. You have to sign that voter certificate in order for your vote to count. Because in Florida, we are required to verify every single one of those signatures. Okay, so we do that. Every single one that comes through, we go through and we verify those signatures to make sure they match. So if your signature has changed, if you registered to vote when you were 18 and you did smiley faces on your top of your eyes and real, you know, got mostly women here, might have been really, really loopy and pretty, right? As you got older, a little less important. It might not have looked the same. Update your signature, okay? Really important. We need you to update your signature because if it was you who actually sent in your ballot, we want to count it. But we can only do that if we can verify that it is your ballot. Okay, that's really critical as part of the security that we're doing. So updating your signature is of critical importance. If you have any questions about it, make sure you do that. You can update your signature on a voter registration form just to check the update button. Okay, so it's really easy to do. And then make sure if you do get something that says, hey, there was a problem with your signature, then the supervisor is going to be sending you information, all right, on your envelope. We're all required to request it. You are not required to provide it by law, but we are required to request from you your phone number, your cell phone number, and your email. If you have provided those things, then we're going to use those things in addition to sending you a letter. We'll use those things to let you know that there's a problem with your signature. Either you forgot to sign it or it doesn't match. So that's the reason that we have that information and that request on there, especially as we're getting close to the end. If you have to wait for us to send you a letter, you may not get it in time. And then you're going to be frustrated because you're going to say, I didn't even know there was a problem because we couldn't reach you fast enough. So consider giving us that information that we can use to contact you right away if we see there's a problem with your signature. You can cure it. There's an affidavit that's required. It's set out in the statute. That's the way you do it. You cure it. That'll update your signature. And now you move forward. So, and you have until 5 o'clock p.m. Thursday following the election to do that cure. So that's a change that happened a couple of years ago. So that's why, especially if it's in a close race, which we have, people are going to call it an unofficial result because we have to wait until all ballots are in, and that includes in certain races, we'll have military and overseas ballots, as long as they were postmarked on time, specifically for military and overseas. They can come in up to 10 days later. Not in every race, okay, not in the primary. Also, the cures, because you have till Thursday at 5 o'clock. So people are really watching those. And so it's really changed the way people campaign, because they're actually checking to make sure, okay, whose ballot didn't get accepted. I got to run out, make sure those are the people I think would have voted for me, make sure that they've done that cure. So that's another step that gets added into. It's a lot of work for our candidates. So I want to actually thank you and everybody who runs for office, because, well, I wouldn't have a job if nobody ran for office. So we do, but it is. Being a candidate is really hard work. And so, we appreciate what you do for that. And so if voting by mail is your method of choice, great. Just make sure that you're doing it right. As Joe said, you cannot drop it off on election day at your polling location, but you can drop it off during early voting. So we have 21 early voting sites. Broward has 22 early voting sites. So we have early voting sites throughout the county. You can take your vote by mail ballot and drop it at the early voting site, just not on election day, and that's under the statute. So lots of ways to get your ballot back to us timely, so please remember to do it.
Lots of good information there. Very good. Okay, so I've been curious. I recognize that every election is going to be a little different, of course, and I imagine by community to community it will be a little different. Do you talk to us about voter turnout? I recognize that you're all working very hard to get more voters to show up in one way or another. Is there a difference between the number of women who show up to vote, different age groups, different times of certain issues that hit the ballot? Can you talk to us about voter turnout?
Sure, yeah. So a lot of voter turnout is actually driven by really the people at the top of the ballot, right? And I think I see it as my role as a supervisor to make sure I'm doing everything I can to make sure that people are aware that there's an election happening. And a good way to measure that would be, say, the relative turnout. So comparing between counties and saying, since everybody sort of has the same people at the top of the ticket, right? If you kind of look, that might be a good way to measure whether or not we're doing as much as we can to make sure that we get good turnout. I can't speak too much on the demographic piece about, what demographics turn out more than others, because I don't really know that information off the top of my head. But, but I would say that, I think a lot of what turnout has to do with is making sure that there's a variety of options and different ways for people to vote, and making sure that we're flexible as we can be within the realm of keeping the election secure. What there's been a lot of debate about in the state of Florida is about these drop boxes and whether or not, they should be allowed, or how they should be set up, where they should be set up. And that tends to be, especially in Broward County, I see that is a very popular way to return the ballots, because people do have their reservations about putting it in the mail and not knowing for sure if it's going to make it back in time. And of course, that is a direct impact on turnout, because the ballots that are in the mail at 7 p.m. on election night that show up after, that counts against our turnout. Those votes are never counted, so those votes don't get added to the overall turnout. So for me, it's it's super important, and I say that's one of the things that I'm focusing on the most. It's why the program that Wendy talked about, Ballot Tracks, one of the reasons I signed up for that was just to make sure that we're able to have really good contact information for all the people who use vote by mail, and that we can send them those reminders and make sure that they are aware of the fact that we have to get that ballot back before 7 p.m. on election night. So to me, and especially because vote by mail has gotten so big with COVID-19, and it's hard to say at this point whether people are going to go back to in-person voting or if they're going to continue to vote by mail. I know for me, once I discovered vote by mail, I loved it and continued voting that way. And I think at this point that a lot of other people have discovered that too, and are going to continue even as COVID has subsided and people could potentially go back to in-person voting. I suspect that that's not the way it's going to go. I suspect a lot of people are going to continue. So for me, when I think about voter turnout, it really is about, there's really another aspect to it in addition to the vote by mail, and that's the early voting and having the in-person early voting sites. And because there's so many people who want that personalized feeling and that sense of going in there, standing in the booth, filling out the ballot and turning it in. And one thing I always, I actually joke with my parents a lot because they insist on voting on election day. They actually make it a really big deal. They've done that my whole life. It might be... It might be part of the reason that I'm where I am now, because I grew up like that. But I have lately been trying to nudge them and say, why do you insist on waiting till the last day? If you really want to vote in person, we have early voting. You can go, make an event out of that. Get dressed, go vote, go to brunch on any other day. So I'm working on them. I think I almost got them there to where they're going to go ahead and start voting early. But getting more people to stop waiting until the last day and to go ahead and vote early, I think will be a great way. Because one thing that hampers turnout that we can see historically is that if it's raining really bad on election day, people don't go vote. Also, you could get sick, you can get stuck at work, the kids could get sick, you might have to go pick up your kid from somewhere. So things happen when you wait till the last minute that keeps you from going. So the more we can get people to embrace these other options that are out there, such as early voting and voting by mail, if we get people to embrace these options, we'll see our voter turnout go up. And in a democracy, that's what's really important. We want more people to participate, and we all, hopefully, if we believe in democracy, we believe that more participation means a better outcome. And hey, that's the name of the game. That's what we're trying to do.
I feel like this is the time for your parents to start trusting you. You have this title. I love that. You're trying to break their habits. That is awesome. We only have a few more minutes here, but I want to give each of you the chance, if there's one last little golden nugget of advice or a piece of information that's useful to put in the pocket as we all head into the next opportunity to cast our ballot. And we'll start with you.
Thank you, Ashley. I want to echo what I said earlier, and I love sharing what my journey was like to first decide to run for office, and then to run for office, and now to run for re-election. And I've had the privilege of being able to share that with a lot of young women in our community. But if any of you ever have any questions or feel that calling and want to talk about what that's like, please feel free to, you can find me through the commission with my contact information, and I'd love to have that conversation with you.
My advice is just get involved, okay? Voting is so critical to everything that we do and to making sure that you have the best people in office, or that whatever issue it is that you're voting on, that it's going the way you think it should be. So understand the voting process. Feel free to ask your supervisor, how is it working? In our office, and I know each office has different ways of doing it, we've been doing these election experience tours where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on back here. How is it that we're doing all of these things? And so make sure you understand that so that you are educated enough to ask the right questions, the things that really matter to you. And by all means, to consider being a poll worker. It is one of the things that we need so dearly. And especially if you care about it, you're going to be trained, you're going to get paid, you're not going to get rich, but you will be paid for your time. So it is a paid position because it's a valued position. But you do go through training. You understand all the safeguards that are put in place for people who are voting in person. Okay, so that's going to be whether it's early voting or on election day voting. And so when you're going through that training, it's going to be anywhere between 2 and 6 hours, depending upon what it is that you're going to do and what position you're going to take. You're going to learn so much about the process and the safeguards that are in it. And you're going to be helping your community because, we can tell if you say, I live here and I want to be somewhere really close, because it's a good way for me to say hi to all my neighbors, I promise you, your supervisor is going to get you there. They're going to get you where you need to be so that we can get you in to be a poll worker. So please consider that, or if it's not that way, in some other way that you want to be involved. But being involved and understanding the process so that you can hold everybody accountable is what's very important. So thanks so much.
I guess my last word will be to go home and tell somebody close to you to not wait till the last day. Thank you all. It was really an honor to be here.
Thank you all so much for your time and all this great information. And yes, I know you'll be very busy. Appreciate it. Here you go, Kelly.
Well, thank you all again. I know we all enjoyed that and learned some things. I think we want to take a quick photograph. So to keep our program going, we're now going to transition into our Spirit of Community Awards program. And it's my pleasure to introduce the chair of that committee, Commissioner Carol Coombs. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol Coons, and I'm chairman of the, let me start over, chair of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women's Awards and Recognition Committee. And I'm so excited you're all here, but more excited than that, we have 14 incredible recipients this year, and 8 of them are luckily to be here with us. So we're going to present their awards to them. And we're all excited to be here in the beautiful city of Palm Beach. And thank you to all our hosts and all the speakers today. We are so grateful to that. The recipients of the FCSW Spirit of Community Awards show the embodiment and dedication to community service. Each day, these volunteers monitor children, advocate for women, and families in need. They help people in ways that some of us don't even think about, and they make lives of our loved ones even better. They make our communities and our state itself a much safer and nicer place to be a part of. So we're just always astonished by the energy as we're reading the nominations, and we just can't even believe that these people do so many wonderful things, and I know we all really admire them very much. Sometimes I wonder, how do they find the time to do this? And I really think it comes down to, because for these winners, it's really not a time issue, it's they're speaking from their heart. This is something that they want to do, to share with us, and that's why I know I am personally extremely grateful to all of you. The winners this year are from all different types of groups, and we're going to give you a little brief presentation about what they've done. And let me tell you, we could talk all day about most of them. So when we do talk very quickly, understand that we're only telling you a little bit, but we're going to ask all the winners if they could please give us a video of themselves. Just give a little background about yourself and something, and we will put this on our website so you all can go and look at it, because this way we can share with more than the people that are here or watching today. So I also want to thank our committee members, our fellow commissioners Sierra Anderson, Rita Barreto, Candace Falsetto, and Claudia Medina Thomas. Thank you for all your work and dedication. So, this is a thing that is just so amazing, because each one of these people has gone so beyond the value to serve, the offer to serve. And Saint Mother Teresa once said, and I kind of like this quote, "Love cannot remain by itself, it has no meaning. For love to be put into action, that action is service." And when you think about it, it's kind of true in every part of your life. Everybody that you love, you do things for, and that's service. And so we appreciate it even more. Good. What we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of my fellow commissioner and committee members are going to come up, and they're going to present give you a little paragraph, as I said, and then we'll present the award. So if we could please.
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Medina Thomas, and it's truly an honor and privilege to be here. So grateful for our sponsors, Florida Power and Light and Kaiser University, and the wonderful team of Kelly and Kim for making this event possible. So grateful, and so grateful for all of you being here today to help honor these amazing recipients. Our first recipient today is Dr. Sierra Bostic. If you would kindly come forward, please. Dr. Sierra Bostic promotes young ladies living their purpose, fulfilling God's destiny, and shining bright through good deeds. As a mentor and motivational speaker, one of her ultimate goals in life is to spread the message of self-worth to girls nationwide. Dr. Sierra believes that if you educate a girl, you educate a wife. When you educate a wife, you educate a mother, which eventually leads to educating a family. Congratulations, Dr. Sierra Bostic. We're so grateful for you.
If you could just step away from the podium a little bit. That's good. Okay, right there is great. Okay. Okay, excellent. Nice smiles. Good. Let me take one more. Hang on. Don't leave. There we go. Excellent. Thank you.
Our next extraordinary recipient is Dr. Sonia Brookings. Dr. Sonia Brookings is an environmental justice advocate for her community, encouraging families to build community gardens and to advocate for health issues that impact their community. She's been elected as an officer for the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida and is the first African American to win a position on the board. She also teaches healthy relationships to young ladies to give them strategies to embody healthy choices. Warmest congratulations to Dr. Sonia Brookings.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. It is an honor for me to introduce Ashley Brundage. Please come forward. Ashley impacts countless lives not only in the state but all over the world through her work, sharing her story and her volunteer advocacy. Fighting discrimination, harassment, and homeless, she found employment as a part-time associate, then rose to National VP of Diversity and Inclusion in less than 5 years at major financial service organization. She also personally serves as a mentor for transgender women all over the world, and it is a creator of the Transgender Inclusion Task Force, the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations, Ashley. Now we will honor Liz Cohen. Please come forward. Liz nominator said, Winston Churchill never met Liz Cohen, but his words sum up her life's passion for helping others. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. She is a mover and shaker in the field of education with a huge national footprint. Her awards and resume are certainly long, but it is her life's purpose to help others that stands tall. Liz is a humanitarian, an altruist, a community servant, and a positive role model who works tirelessly to improve the lives of others. Congratulations, Liz.
Now, it is my extreme honor to recommend one of my fellow community members from Fort Myers and ask Stephanie Inc. Edwards to join us up here to honor her for her work. As CEO of Community Cooperative, Stephanie is a social service entrepreneur charged with creative thinking to meet ever-changing needs by mobilizing 4,000 volunteers, hundreds of community partners, and a staff of 24 to end hunger and homelessness in Southwest Florida. She has positively impacted the lives of women and families by developing the nonprofit social services to permanently solve family and individual homelessness through direct services, referral, and follow-up under one roof. Congratulations, Stephanie E. Edwards.
Now we will honor Sarah Powers. Please come forward. Sarah is the founder and CEO of Top Buttons, which is a faith-based nonprofit organization that strives to help young women be successful by providing situationally appropriate clothing. It is crucial for young women to be confident in their own skin, and Top Buttons provides mentorship and education about fashion, empowering them to be successful in job interviews and beyond. Sarah strives to help women build self-confidence regardless of economic status. Congratulations, Sarah Powers.
Next, we would like to honor Leah Roddenberry. Please come forward. Leah is Miss Florida 2021, an author, and Be a Lead Her founder. She started the nonprofit as a result of her struggle with self-confidence during her youth. Leah believes that young women deserve to be taught the foundations of leadership and courage so that they can learn how to tackle any situation they may face. Her goal is to lead by example and ignite the spark in every single woman, providing them with the opportunity to dream bigger and pursue goals they never thought possible. Please join me in congratulating Leah Roddenberry. Now we honor Leah Suarez. Please come forward. Taking care of people is something that seems to come naturally to Leah. She's the founder and president of Our Village, Okeechobee. Leah has worked tirelessly in her pursuit of giving people a hand up and not a hand out. She created Our Village Okeechobee as a means to provide services, outlets, resources, and to be a support to her home community. From community programs to grant writing to food trucks and back-to-school events, the woman just doesn't take a moment to breathe. She's always thinking and planning and already working on her next project and dire need or grant opportunity that will make her community better. Congratulations, Leah.
as you probably remember, I said there were 14 winners, and let me just read the names of the ones that were not able to join us, but we will have all their information on the website. So please take the time to go on there and look at it for us. Thank you. It's Marilise Camacho Reyes, Erica Hall, Joan Kramer, Suzanne Levitt, Anya Patel, and Ashley Wright. Thank you so much, all of you. We're so proud of these women and all they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coons. And just so you guys know, in the little folder that they had was a letter from the governor just congratulating them and being Spirit of Community Award winners. So thank you all. Congratulations again. We have come to the end of our program, and I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for taking the time to be here again today. Thank you to all our speakers. I hope that everyone leave here with a nugget of information. Just so you know, a few months ago, I was getting an allergy test, and then I shared this with Ashley. And as I'm laying on the table and this, nurse is doing the allergy test, we're talking, and I said, where in Palm Beach County are you from? And she told me the area, and I said, oh, so-and-so is your county commissioner, and she said, oh, I don't vote. And I said, what? And she said, no, I don't, my vote doesn't matter. I don't believe in voting. And I said, well, do you know that if you don't vote, you can't complain about anything? And she said, I still complain. And I had this whole conversation to her while she's responsible for putting all this stuff on my back anyway. And I went back to the commission and I said, we have to have a conversation about voting. It is so important because we may vote, but you would be surprised how many people are out there in the community that still don't vote. And I'd like to share with people that it's not always about a party line, right? It's not all about being a D or being an R. As women, we need to understand who we're voting for, why we're voting, and what are the issues that they stand for. Because if we don't, then we are going to have elected officials who are making decisions about us that we have zero input in. So it's really important. And another thing that's also important, as Ashley mentioned, is those other things on the ballot, right? There's so many people who go to vote and they just vote for a person and they don't understand all the other things. And guess what? We're paying extra taxes and we're doing all these things because nobody read the other things that are on the ballot. So those amendments are really important and we need to understand them. And if you don't understand them, call somebody and ask them, what does this mean? Because someone will explain it to you. So I just want to thank you for taking the time. I thought it was a very timely and important topic for all of us and especially for us as women. And so thank you for coming out and thank you to the staff and the commissioners for making sure that this was a successful event. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.